Welcome, dear viewers, to a new episode of Dialogue Horizon. In this episode, we are going to cover two important visits paid by two important personalities. The first was the visit of the American Minister of State, Mike Pompeo, who visited Sudan as a top official of the American administration since the last one was Condoleezza Rice almost 16 years ago on 2004. The other visit, which is also very important by an important person, is the visit of Abiy Ahmed, which coincided with the visit of Pompeo. Abiy Ahmed, Prime Minister of Ethiopia, definitely they came for two different issues and they did not meet in Khartoum. It was just a coincidence. Anyway, I'm very glad to have with me to discuss the events of these two visits. I have our friend, engineer, Mohammed Farouk Salman, Vice President of Sudanese Alliance Party, and our economist, Dr. Yasser Al-Ibaid, who is known to most of you, and he is an economist, doctor in economics, and he worked many years, almost 20 years in the African area, different countries of Africa, which has the same, most of the countries, they have the same problems, economic problems of Sudan. Welcome both of you in this episode, this important episode about these two visits. We will try to go in depth on the reasons and the outcome of the two visits. Okay, we'll start by engineer, our friend engineer Mohammed Farouk Salman. Mohammed Farouk Salman, in one of the visits to the Middle East area, the Minister of State of America, Mike Pompeo, his first stop in the Middle East was in Israel, in Jerusalem, as you know. Immediately from there, he changed his itinerary and he decided to make the second stop Khartoum. So, can you tell us about the importance of changing his itinerary from going in other parts of the Middle East? He decided to go from Jerusalem to Khartoum, and he was happy about that as a flight. Maybe you can elaborate on his Twitter.
It was Tel Aviv or Jerusalem? I'm not sure.
About that?
It was from Tel Aviv or from Jerusalem? I guess.
No, it came from Tel Aviv for sure.
Tel Aviv, yeah.
For sure, from Israel to Khartoum directly. Okay, can you tell us about this visit?
For sure, with America we have many issues that relate to Sudan and America themselves. And this issue are so important, even I guess to have it to concentrate on the visit that Pompeo came directly from Tel Aviv to Sudan. That was by itself, by the way, a penetration on the Arab-Israeli conflict, because it was never happening this way. Always.
For the first time since the boycott of the
I guess
Arabs.
the first visit made like this by Henry Kissinger to Riyadh directly at the 1973. But that even I guess Mansour Khalid played a role on this to convince the Arab League to accept the visit for Henry Kissinger himself, because he was his colleague in the university years ago, decades ago. But let us look at it on the aspects that concern us Sudanese and American. We have this issue of the terrorism list, Sudan to be lifted from this list. And this is something being delayed, I guess, for a very long time. And for me, I do believe that our foreign affair being addressed mistakenly, because we've been punished for the previous regime mistaken and messing around us on the world, while Sudanese people themselves were the first victim of this regime itself. And instead of actually supporting Sudan on this transition, people want to accuse Sudan with the previous regime crimes, and this is why we've been instead still now on this list of terrorism, not lifted yet. Many sanctions and many, I guess, access to finance stopped from Sudan because of the previous government. Uh, the good thing about the United States of America, the Congress decision made on June 9, 2019, and it's been actually updated on March 2020 now. And that was very clear in supporting the democratic transformation and transition in Sudan and supporting the transition period. And they elaborate many things about the financial problem about because we came from a corrupted governance that actually spoiled all of our resources. We've been actually broken. If you want to look at Sudan, how is it now? Because there was a large scale of mismanagement of our resources. There was corruption that touched everything, our bank system, our government, and its role on auditing the national resources and our income, and even the institutionalized, I guess, what they call it, working on a parallel bodies regardless the state itself. And this is one of the main fears, I guess, for the American administration. Are we really capable to fight the terrorism? Are we able to contain it? Is Sudan really, after this revolution, ready for the new era that we as people of Sudan wanted? We as the people of Sudan being enforced to be part of an Islamic ideology that being actually doing a very bad role for Sudanese people themselves. So if you look at it, I think if you consider even on the decision of the Congress and adopted by the administration of United States of America regard supporting and giving Sudan access for finance from international and global finance entities like World Bank, like other development funds groups, to be working in Sudan without any the previous actually precaution being made for Umar Bashir regime. That all was from the past now, and we should work it like this. The problem, I think, with us was we've been divided about. He's coming from Tel Aviv. He will discuss the relation between Sudan and direct relation between Sudan and Tel Aviv, and this is something I think we always been mistaken it, because we don't know the new things happen on the world. After Oslo, there is a new, I think, era for Palestinian people themselves, and we cannot discuss the relation with Israel. We have not to take it always as something that as we are betraying the Palestinian issue and the rights for the Palestinian people on their land and on the according to the international legitimacy, because this is already there is 2042, I think, decision from the United Nations, and many things that guarantee the Palestinian people rights on their freedom and living and their country and their state, on the existence of the two states as it is now. And this is something Palestinians themselves agree on it. So we cannot just take it more aggressive than how they are taking it. We should discuss it on a way that even it could cooperate, because this model where now we address the issue of the Palestinian people, it will not work, because if we look, most of the front of Arab were now being actually divided. Many countries already got direct relation with Israeli without having a diplomatic or some sort of a political engagement of this front on sorting the Palestinian issues themselves. I think as Sudanese, after this revolution, our identity now, we are working in a lawful and in international and supporting international legitimacy. We are not against this. People should know this about us.
Okay, that's very, very good, because now as if you are saying that, as if it's very, very good, very clear message from you as one of the active members of the freedom forces, which they change the military, the civilian part of the revolution. So, Dr. Yasser, as Engineer Muhammad Farouk Salman, but he mentioned that it seems that from what he said is that primarily the visit was to try and start a normalization process between Sudan and Israel. This is mainly this is the main issue of the visit. That is why he tweeted in his message that he was very happy, and he was rejoicing the fact that the plane from Tel Aviv to Khartoum was the first passengers plane to direct flight from Tel Aviv to Khartoum in almost more than 60 years, at least say since independence of Sudan, about 62 years, and he was happy about this in itself. Do you agree with Engineer Mohammed Farouk Salman that the visit is mainly on the issue of normalization of relation between Sudan and Israel, which will consequently, as he impliedly said, will consequently lead to at least to unwrap the critical position of the economy of the country. Now the economy is in trouble. So it seems that they have a link between the visit and the response of the Sudanese government with the outcome of this normalization. So being an economist, you know the
Absolutely agree with Mr.
Mohammed
Farouk.
Farouk.
Regarding the visit has so many connotations and so many significations on that for Sudan, especially after the revolution. Sudan is looking for opening the international relation with international community and how to come back to the international community, and this is part of it. This is what I'm looking for from a very long time. As we know that there is no any enemy that continually, and we have to look for our benefit on Sudan, our interest in Sudan. That's the main issue. The visit it's very significant for Sudan at this time. It's true that there is a lot of change. It seems like from international community, especially from United States of America, regarding the area, especially the area of Middle East and the African Horn and this center of Africa, because these two areas very connected with each other. Security-wise, they are connected together because of the Red Sea, because of the African Horn, because of oil, because passing their side, maybe around 26% of the oil in the world passing that area from the African Horns and Red Sea. Red Sea is very important because connected between Sudan and this Saudi Arabia and Egypt and up to Tel Aviv. This is matter of security. If Israel is looking for that side, normalization with UAE is a part of it, and the important issue is a security side. Here also the same way Israel is looking for the extension of its moving on that area. Sudan is very important point in that, very important key on that. This is why Israel is looking. Sudan is became the fairest country at this time, because the timing that it has also another signification. For us, the visit, from the other hand, also is going to support the Sudan relationship with USA. That's very important also at this time, because we are looking. We have a lot of issues with United States of America regarding we are in that list of the tourists. We're having so much problems. We have to pay some claims to the USA and to the victims of the Dar es Salaam and Nairobi and Col. This is all is connected together, because in the international relations, things is not just go separately like that. Things goes all together, because normalization is a part of the condition. Maybe it is not that been announced before, but maybe that is maybe the other part of the secret terms and condition regarding the lifting Sudan from that sanctions. It needs a lot of effort from our side.
Let me interrupt for a moment. Mohammed Farouk mentioned a very suitable or very good word or phrase. Actually, you can elaborate or agree or disagree with him. He mentioned that betrayal of the Palestinian issue. As if he's saying that it's not necessarily that if you try to go in a conditional way of normalized relation, this does not necessarily mean a betrayal to the Palestinian issue. it could be something better or conducive to the solution of the Palestinian. I mean, what Muhammad was saying, that we have at least now things have changed. Things all over the world have changed. So at least we should have to separate. Before that, if you do anything, they call it you are betraying the Palestinian issue. Now even the East Palestinians, they change their tactics and they are sitting. They used to have direct talks with the. Do you agree with?
Agree with him. Yes, absolutely agree with him, because the world is.
You have to
is
be
changed now.
pragmatic.
Yes, is pragmatic, and the world is completely changed now because of the situation of the world now. Things is going to be changed in the region, in the area, in the all Middle East and in Africa, especially in the center of Africa, because this is the key of all Africa to the African countries. I agree with him that because the separation of that, the issues of Palestine and the issue of Sudan, normalization is completely going differently, because we are looking for, as you mentioned, we are looking also the interests of Sudan. Sudan is in after the revolution, you need the international community and the international world, even including the Israel. Is a part of that. Israel is a part of international community. Is a part of the international, because we have to know what we need from them and what they need from us. If they need the security, if they need the normalization, also we are looking for some interest with them. So we have to put the things all together, and we have to negotiate with them and put the negotiation. And we have to the Palestine, they have to know that the problem of Sudan is part of it. It is a part of it, because also themselves they're having some agreement with them. They have the contract. They have some issues with them internally. They have Palestine with Israel. Also, we are going to do the same. We are not going to leave our maybe our principles there, maybe our whatever according to the internal problem with our people here in Sudan, because I know that political parties, they are not all agreed about the normalization. There is a lot of complication in Sudan, but we have to look for the interests of Sudan at this time, including our relation with Palestine themselves. We have to look for that, especially as we know the American is the key of the world and the biggest country in the world. We have to work with them, and we have to negotiate with them if the normalization is going to help Sudan in its problem. Especially we have, as we know that the problem in Sudan is not only, the main problem is economic. So we have to look for that. We have to offer them something. We have to offer them projects. We have to offer them some of our resources. How can we use those resources together? How can we do a partnership with them? How can we do, even we need them in different things, especially even in research, especially in studies, especially in
labs, different parts.
Yes, we have to look for that.
So as if you are saying that it is better for them to have a strong Sudan supporting the issue than a weak Sudan blindly supporting the issue. Okay.
Blindly was one of the dangerous things, you know. We have to look blindly on that.
Yeah, we have to be pragmatic, and you have to follow the principle of mutual interest.
It should be.
Rather than enemy and friend.
We have to know the other how they're thinking about us.
Yes. Okay, Muhammad Farouk, this is very, very, very interesting. Do you think that the timing of the visit, has something to do with the American elections on the 3rd of November? 3rd of November means after almost 2 months from now. Does it? You think that it's not only for the interests of the Israelis or the Sudanese, but do you think that you feel that?
Yeah, for sure. They don't do things like this accidentally. It means a lot for them. But this will not mean it's not something that institutionalized or part of the establishment, because what's the issue now? If we look about our relation and the priority on the table between Sudan and United States of America, they are more than normalizing relation with Israeli, by the way.
Yeah.
But this comes as a favor for Netanyahu himself. He's also running an election, and for the situation of Israel on the Middle East as well. And I would like because how we are divided on the region, this is give Israel that opportunities to run around even the international decisions that made for the benefit of the Palestinian people, and Palestinian people should stop thinking like this. And by the way, the most country that are aggressive about this visit, like Turkey, Qatar, they already established some sort. Turkey themselves, they have a diplomatic
full diplomatic
relation.
Yeah.
Qatar, actually, Israel, the first Arab country that Israel ever participate on a trade activity was in at Doha, not in anywhere else. And now Emirates established a sort of normalization relation with the Israeli. So we cannot just doing the role of being the angry for you while you are not. This will not help you. And how this relation being run this way, I think, will not help Palestinians themselves on running themselves their issues in a correct way, because you cannot have the cake and eat it, because you cannot saying and still shouting the same way like in 1970s about what's going to happen. You want Israel to vanish. This will not happen anymore, by the way.
Sure.
Inside us as Sudanese people, I think there is a problem, as Doctor said here. We are divided. If you look at Sudan people, we already had a meeting before between Netanyahu and our chairperson on the Sovereignty Council.
Yes. Already
done.
Normalization
So
started.
we had a penetration already.
From
We had
there.
something. We cannot just say that not happen. This happened.
It
by the
happened.
way.
Okay.
Yeah.
It started.
So we should build on it.
Okay.
Hesitation is not good at this moment, by the way. And I'm not happy with this. Actually, words came out from many FFC leaders. Many issues they are saying, this is not the transition issues. This is an elected government issue. This is totally wrong, by the way. These issues, where we are as Sudanese, does not agree on it, should be discussed on the transition period.
Yeah.
We cannot put the constitution on election base. We have been doing this for 60 years. We gain nothing, actually. The areas where we don't agree, the areas of conflict, it should be built on a consensus, not an election, or not on a way that for sure you are gonna to omit or gonna to make it on the benefit of some people, not all of the Sudanese people. If you don't agree on it, keep it. Don't make any decide on behalf of all Sudanese on it. But that means we're not gonna be an enemy or an ally for any of, but we cannot run a state on this way, by the way. We have to know. As I said before, the identity of this revolution puts Sudanese as a lawful country that respects the laws, respects the international community decision, and respects the UN and the Security Council, all because we are part of it, not because we are obeying them. We should play the role as we are part of the international community. No more, we are not that the one who disturbs this. No one, we are not that the one who threatens the international peace. Who are exporting the terrorism. This is the issue that we are going to address. Full mouth that we are not part of the terrorist list. We should not be there, because, as I said to you before, we are the victims of the terrorism ourselves as Sudanese, because the government exercised this actually in Sudan more than it did it anywhere else. And this is why I'm not happy, by the way, with the way that they are doing with school and with the, even now they are saying 11 September Sudan should be a compensation for the American families there. Actually, Sudanese people suffer more than how American people suffer from Umar al-Bashir regime. If you look at the war, the numbers of the people, the victims on Darfur, on Blue Nile, on even East Sudan, in South Sudan, and how the number actually decreased
millions
madly during these 30 years of NIF ruling. So if we want to see, we've been liberating all the world on our coast, with our martyrs, with this demonstration, with this revolution in Sudan, from one of the most threatening and one of the most actually governance or polity that actually seriously have been one of the reasons that there were nothing peace. But what we did this as Sudanese people, we did it in our coast. And people should actually recognize this, should support this, and should welcome Sudan after this revolution.
Yes, that's very good, Muhammad Farouk. I think it's very, very, very interesting. And as if Engineer Muhammad Farouk Suleiman, when we were talking in this very practical and pragmatic way in addressing this issue, as if he's saying you don't have to be more Catholic than the Pope. In a way, we don't have to be more Catholic than the Pope.
Yeah.
Once he mentioned so many different countries, the Arab, because they started to be pragmatic and realistic, that things have changed. So after he met with Prime Minister Abdullah Hamdouk, and Abdullah Hamdouk, before meeting him, he had a message from the FFC that adamantly no way to accept or talk about normalization, the relation between Sudan and Israel with Mark Pompeo, because it is beyond our jurisdiction or mandate. Our mandate in this interim period, I don't know what is it, but and even in the constitutional declaration, there is no mention about it. I fully agree with Mohammed Farouk Suleiman that that's the right time to take such decisions by the people. So what do you think about the message or the reply of Prime Minister Hamdouk to Mike Pompeo, saying that although Pompeo knows everything, but we are not authorized and we don't have the mandate to address such issue. Definitely he knows the declaration, definitely he knows that there is no restriction, but can you tell us
First of all, I think so we have to look for what we need from the other side. What we need from Israel, what we need from the USA. It's not a matter of normalization without knowing what we need. What we need from them, from their side. Israel needs what? It needs, it really has its whatever its goals, what it needs from Sudan. Sudan also has to prepare what needs from the other side. Why they don't want to normalize the relation between Sudan and Israel? First of all, we have to put our things very properly and officially from all the institutions in Sudan. They have to study the issue and the matter well. They have to know what they need from the other side. Israel, maybe it need normalization, it needs recognition, it needs for them it needs security for the sites, it needs the movement for their aviation activities and whatever. It needs a lot of things that it's been prepared in their table. We have to put our file also ready for that. What do we need from that normalization? Or do we need just only matter of normalization because the others they normalize the relation of UAE and whatever? Agree with Mr. Farouk that we are in a historical time. We have to put a historical decision for our officials, for our all the government. This is official time. We have to try to solve the problem of Sudan, especially the international problems, outside problem with international community. We are outside of international community for a very long time. We need to go to make the integration with the international community, with the regional integration. Our problem is economic problem. Our problem is the connection with all the institutions, international institutions. Our problem with international financial institutions. We have to look for that. What is Israel going to help us on that? We have to normalize the things. I don't think there is any problem, even culture-wise, social-wise, community-wise, political-wise, security-wise, even religious-wise. There is no any problem, I think, so to normalize the things.
Normalization.
There is no any problem on that. So we can have relations.
You can also the normalization process, if they accept it could have been done or said as conditional, which
Why not?
Which
Why
will be
not?
helpful.
Why not?
Helpful to the
Palestinian people.
Palestinian people.
But
It will
no
register-
normalization as that from that Khartoum La'ad, that what we have
Yes, yes.
now for this. How come this? We are in different world. That is a very primitive one. In fact, by the
you can
way,
put
for me, it is a
condition
primitive
like
announcement.
You tie this condition. Okay, I accept the normalization, and we can work on this condition that Israel to admit that this Palestine they must have a state and so on so on.
Yes,
so
why
on,
not? No
and
problem.
to abide by the United Nations. This will be far better than just
For our side also, we need from you the 1, 2, 3, 4. What can you do from this? How can you implement 4, 3, 5, 6? I think so. They don't have a problem. So because this is something of interest.
common interest.
Exchange of interest between the countries. I don't think there's a problem of that.
Okay, that's good, Dr. Yasser. Hamad Farouk. So, having this is good. Now we heard about the very good and convincing argument from both of you. Let us go. What will be the consequences of the refusal, or actually the answer of Prime Minister Hamdouk to Mark Pompeo, the American head, Minister of State, on the issue first of lifting Sudan from the list, American list of the states sponsoring terrorism, and from the economic sanctions at large, or from help the international financial institutions. Will there be any bad effect on the refusal actually of the civilian component? Because I will come back to the military component.
I'm part of the civilian component. I don't have any problem with this. If you want to talk about it, frankly. And as I said, even I don't go like the doctor so far, because not a matter of what Israel can offer to us, because what we can get from Israel, we can get from anywhere else in the world, because technology, and by the way, we get something from them. We have to admit this, that the agricultural technologies, this is like a Gallia now being cultivated in Umdom and other farms in Sudan, came from Israel. Let us know this. And for sure, it could help more on this technology of agriculture, because the weather is the same and they have the same traits there. But this is not the issue. We can address it other way if we want to look at what's the benefit. But as you said, conditionally, if we have a relation with Israel, this will help the Palestinian people themselves. They should come out of this historical trauma, not the world as it was before. And since 1973, actually, we don't have a war. There was a word said by, I think, Ishaq Rabin during Oslo talk, that peace for land, or land for peace. And he said something very tricky. He said, peace for peace. This phrase sounds nice, but as we have been discussing here, this should be reflected if even we talk about this principle and concept on building a humanity relation with each other. It should be built on a materialistic benefit for all, because the Palestinian people need their land, need somewhere to stay. They need to be to have the right of return to their own land, and this is an issue should be addressed. We have the people Arab of 1948. They are still in Israeli, and they live their normal life, and they don't suffer like others. If you look, and this is never came on their solidarity and being to their own people issue, like Mahmoud Darwish, even Azmi Bushara. Those people actually travel around the world with Israeli passport.
Yeah.
So let us get out of this trauma. We cannot do it through this drama. International relations should not be run like this, aware of any direct benefit that can come out from our relation with Israel themselves. I don't think this is necessary, should be against the Palestinian people rights.
Yeah.
We should address it like this way. And I like what you said. It could be conditionally, with all respectful of the international decision regarding the Palestinian people rights. This is number one. And to come to the civil front and the slogan that they are making about the enemy and Israeli things, even Palestinian people never say it anymore, by the way. This will not help Palestinian people if those part of civilian movement here in Sudan sincerely want to help or to support the Palestinian issue. Number one, it should come out of, it's an issue of Arab or Muslims. The issue of Palestine is a humanity issue, and it's an international issue. Solidarity with them came from South Africa is more than it being brought to them from Arab world, by the way. And even this sanction and normalization with Israel was a decision for the whole Arab country in 1956 during the trial, fight with Egypt, Nasser days. Yeah. And there are many people and many around the world that support the Palestinian rights. And this is solidarity on the human right and on freedom, and these things could be done on principle, not because they are Arab and Muslim, because I can tell you many countries suffer the same way that Palestinians suffer, and we never hear about them or talk about them. So we should know this, even for this civil front. Unfortunately, Hamdok, his trying to play like, as Mr. Khalid said, a magic in this is fragile civil front, and threat can come from the military side, and the street and demonstration that continue every time and time. And what he said to Pompeo, and I think they were very diplomatic from him, we should discuss sanction and lift and terrorism list to be Sudan removed from there as an independent issue from the normalization with Israel, number one. He said what civil part said to him, that this is not a mandate for his government, but he said it conditionally, not on these bodies that formed till now, because don't forget we have the National Assembly, and for sure we will discuss it. So we are delaying it. We can discuss it on the National Assembly. If we look at the National Assembly after the peace agreement, if we look at Abdel Wahid, Muhammad Noor, already he got an office in Tel Aviv. If you look at the people that are not connected to the ideological Islamic Arab discourse, they don't have problem with Israel actually.
Yeah.
After independence of South Sudan, Israel got an embassy there immediately. They don't have any, and we don't look at our people and the Sudanese people on a way that we can bring them all have a principle, stand regarding Palestinian people right, and yes, we want to make it a camouflage, something that only on speeches, on a political speeches, and this will not help, not us, not the Palestinians, by the way, themselves. So to look to better word, I think we should agree, number one, this issue we can discuss it as Sudanese people, and discuss it now in the transitional period. We miss an opportunity to come back to your, if from the beginning you said to me, this visit came on an egg of the election to be used here and there, and we miss this. And this is, and I always said, a lost opportunity is never an opportunity. We cannot work on this now, because an offer could be made during this time, you can never get it on a normal and called. Even people even will not be concerned to address you or to come to you. And this is something we should know it every time and time, the right time to make our decisions, the right time to make the big move, because this is how is history made.
Okay, that's very good. Then before we go to the issue or the second visit, before we go to the second visit of Prime Minister of Ethiopia, we have to at least to commend or to realize that America this time, regardless of the elections in America, but there is a real change in the American diplomacy with Sudan. Even in this visit of Pompeo, he mentioned that he's supporting the civilian government, he's supporting, America is supporting the transition to democracy, which is something I think is good, because maybe, in my opinion, because maybe he knows the other component. He met with the chairman of the Sovereign Council of State, Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, who already started the normalization process in Entebbe, in Uganda, and he because they know everything. Anyhow, this will not affect the process of normalization relation with America itself, not with Israel, which is something good, and I think that the visit is good. Now, Dr. Yasser, we go to the issue of the second visit of the Prime Minister of Ethiopia, Abiy Ahmed. Abiy Ahmed, his visit actually came immediately after a few days from the visit paid by the Prime Minister of Egypt, with a large, big delegation of different domains in the governance in Egypt. So this is definitely, it has to do or connected with the American, with the Egyptian visit of the Prime Minister. That's why he came, maybe to add or to say something about the position of Ethiopia, because it seems that now Sudan and Egypt, at least in one issue, they have the same point of view. What do you think the importance of the visit of Abiy Ahmed to Khartoum immediately after the visit of Cairo? Definitely it's on the issue of the Renaissance Dam. Do you think it's really connected with this? Is there any other issue? like the border skirmishes and fighting in the border with Ethiopia, or this is the main issue, the GERD?
I think it looks like Sudan now is playing a different role than before. Egypt looks like Sudan is completely different because Sudan now is coming back to the international community, coming back to the area, coming back to the even to the regional bodies like what Sudan and Egypt and Ethiopia, they are all together in African unions and other regional bodies like IGAD and whatever, and COMESA, and most of the regional. Sudan is playing a role, really is the historical role at this time because of the dam. This is part of it. Is very important for the both sides of Ethiopia and Egypt. Sudan is have so much interest in that negotiation of the dam between Egypt and Ethiopia. The Prime Minister, which has been paid by Abiy Ahmed, it looks like also is very important to Sudan at this time because also it seems like the connection between Abiy Ahmed and the rest of the world. Abiy Ahmed became, after he came to the power, he did a lot of things in the region, especially in the African Horn countries, and tried just to unite the area, all of it. And Sudan, by the way, is a big country. It's not that small country in the region. This is why Abiy Ahmed is depending so much to Sudan in all, maybe some negotiation, some ideas of negotiation, especially in the dam and the rest. But the issue of the border and the Fashaga, I don't think that the big issue which is can be negotiated is between Abiy Ahmed and the Prime Minister in Sudan, Hamdok, Dr. Abdullah Hamdok. The issue of Fashaga is something is a very small issue that can be solved between the governors in the region. Cannot be solved just between Prime Minister, because this is a problem between the farmers and the shepherds and whatever. It's not that big issue, and really the smaller Fashaga and the biggest Fashaga is different completely. People, they're mixing the things between between the two issues of Al Fashaga Sugra and the Fashaga the Kubra. Those completely different. I think so. According to me, Abiy Ahmed, his visit is really connected to the visit of the
Prime Minister of
Egypt, and connected also with American foreign minister, so that they put the issue to Sudan differently, and they have to convince Sudan that to agree about the normalization. And it's not something that came by suddenly like that. Cannot be suddenly like that. According to me, there's nothing called suddenly in the international relations and suddenly in political issues. Things being
so you think
together.
it's a calculated coincidence?
I think so. It seems like that. According to me, it seems like that. All is going to the benefit and the interest to Sudan. It seems like maybe they have some stimulus to Sudan. They want to look to solve the problem of Sudan through those parts of it. They are friends to Israel, the friends to United States of America. Sudan now is going to the side. So because the United States of America, it needs a safe Sudan. It needs doesn't need Sudan having a problem. Doesn't need Sudan with conflicts. It needs a safer area, especially in this area because of the competition between United States of America and Iran and whatever in the area. And as we know that Iran also is active in this area, in African Horn and whatever, and Red Sea. This is why they want all these countries, because they are big countries in the region. Big countries, it seems like in Africa, Sudan is now going to the same, Egypt and Ethiopia, and Sudan is going to play a big role in the area. And this is a very important issue regarding the passing the oil, regarding the ports itself. Even the port is very important to the Israel, important to Ethiopia, important to the United States of America because of the security of the Red Sea. This is why Sudan now has to prepare internally. Have to be prepared. Internally, we are not prepared. We have to be prepared all the FFC has to be ready now to be prepared with the others, with the rest of the and after the peace, even those the arms group has also to come together. We have to come together to come with the resolution without any problem internally, because the internal problem is bigger than the outside
The
problem.
outside problem. Okay. Okay, Dr. Yasir. Okay. Engineer Muhammad Farouk, the visit of both the Egyptian Prime Minister and Ethiopian Prime Minister to Sudan, Sudan being the center between the two, and we have strategic relations with both. Can we lose one of the two countries in any way, and what will be the effect, and what do you think the government should do in this case about the strategic relations between both countries?
I think people forget about how is Sudan historically. And this is why we are just getting surprised after a visit of Egyptian Prime Minister with that number of delegation and ministers. Abiy Ahmed came with a number also of a minister, by the way, not only him.
Some minister,
This is something normal on the foreign policy, on regional integration, and this is because Sudan is a past siding Ethiopia in the Millennium Dam issue, if we look at it this way. So Ethiopian doesn't need to come to Sudan every time and time to ensure this. Egyptian, even if they want to come, this will make nothing for them. But now we are balanced. We are doing a role that even can join Ethiopia and Egypt on a common and shared view of agreement together. And this is why they are competing to us. We look at, if we want to look at it this way, but I look at it as this is the normal thing, because these issues are hot and are there on the table. So it's normally to have this dynamic move between Sudan, Ethiopia, and Egypt. And even because of the disconnection of direct debating between Ethiopia and Egypt, Sudan will play this role now. And this is how it's going now. They came Egyptian, then they came the Ethiopian, and hopefully we don't want to do it the same way that Inga is doing it before, something that we just not address the strategic issue and the genuine interest of the whole people of the Horn of Africa and Egypt people as well. As we said before, many things that we should address it on a multilateral base, not only bilateral. We cannot have an agreement with Egypt that Ethiopia should not hear about it. Same, we cannot make something with Ethiopian that Egyptian should know about, nothing about it, or should not be affected. They will be affected, by the way. We have to know this. And to be frankly, Ethiopia itself is suffer from internal issues now, we know. Even if you look at the Fashaka issue, at the tensions that happen at the border between Sudanese army and the Ethiopian army, this is reflected how things that even need, because Abiy Ahmed, as us, is leading a transition, political transition period in Ethiopia itself, by the way.
Yes, he is.
So to be a beast, a force of beast in Sudan and Ethiopia is good for the people of Sudan and for Ethiopia as well. And as we mentioned that, as we noticed in the previous episode, that even Egypt now has a different side for Sudan and for the region, by the way. Not the same as it was. And I think Sudan will play a good lubricant or a good role on this transition, or on this shifting on the relation on the region at all, not only Sudan, and even we can include Eritrea, South Sudan as well, because if we look at the Nile basin, it's not only Ethiopia.
Not only Ethiopia, 10 countries.
Yeah, many
Okay,
countries.
that is very good. The last question, because we have about 2 minutes, to Dr. Yasser Abed about the Renaissance Dam itself. What is the economic effect? What will be the economic effect on Sudan on the basis of one of the benefits is power. 6,000, the Renaissance Dam generates 6,000 megawatt. Now we have the full generation, the capacity, the full generation is 3,000 megawatt only. So if we depend on the power coming from Ethiopia from the gate, from the Renaissance Dam, this will help in reducing the cost of building new. Can you tell us in a minute about the advantage of the benefits of the dam to Sudan?
I think so. There's many advantages for the dam, from the dam of Ethiopia Millennium Dam. There's so many advantages and many benefits from that, especially the power, electricity, and part of it, the running of the river also is going to be a little bit going to be not like before the flooding and whatever. It's going to reorganize the
Regular flow.
yes, the running flow, and it's going to increase the areas of the agricultural areas between the Nile rivers. That's going to be another issue, and another issue is also the problem of the mud which is going to the dams in Sudan, like Roseris and whatever. There's going to also to reduce a little bit. It's also the rest of that of the advantage, some of the minerals also that unseen, the unseen advantage of that part of the minerals which is going through the river is going to start from that side up to the area of Sudan, up to the Halfa of the border of Egypt. That part of the rest of the especially the electricity, that is the main advantage of the.
So you think that, yes, I agree with you that the power which will come to Sudan, if agreed upon, it will definitely have some good positive effect.
And we're accepting that, maybe we're expecting that also maybe the areas of the agriculture, maybe
it
can increase.
Dr. Ustaz Engineer Mohammed Farouk Salman, you are also an engineer, and you know about, you are a civil engineer, and you know about the dam. Yes, now the Ethiopians are they are saying that the flow will be regular, as he said. We will supply power. The area on the banks where they grow vegetables and fruits, in the banks, it will increase, because now it's done only once a year. After the dam, it will be at least 3 times. Can you tell us about
I will
this?
talk like engineer, not like a politician.
Yes, that's why I asked you.
I don't like people talk a lot on media about what's the benefit from Millennium Dam, also for the Egyptian, how they are making these fairs and against the dam always, because these things should be discussed on a professional way. And even if we want to talk about the benefit that we can get on Sudan, this should be built on a mutual agreement, not just a wishful thinking, because if we want to discuss it this way, again, we might come back to the tensions between Egypt and Sudan and Ethiopia. It's better to start a genuine and a serious talk regarding this issue, because even myself, I don't have any guarantee that by all means Sudan for sure will only benefit. For sure Ethiopia will benefit, and this is right, by the way. The poverty is there, the energy is very important to them. And as engineers, you know, and you know, especially you, because you should be our teacher actually on this. If they went for cascade system on this steep inclination of the topographic in Ethiopian topography, it could be better than having the Millennium Dams with the 80 million cubic meter of water. But they went for this project, and some people saying, even in Ethiopia side, it's like a white elephant. You cannot guarantee the 6,000 megawatt all the year, because you have only one dam, and this will be affected by, to have a cascade system. Many dams, just like in Volga, many
small
countries.
dams, yes, in cascade.
But aware of this, I'm not against it, but I cannot see I'm so excited about it. I cannot say just, I'm not involved there. As a Sudanese, we are not there. Even I follow with the Ministry of Irrigation, even if we notice the last statement made by Yasser, Professor Yasser,
yes,
Minister of
he was said he's surprised with the plans of Ethiopia now. So what are you understanding in the past? So better not to talk on this on the media, because there is a work should be done on a professional way. We should study it, and I think the common interest, even Egypt to be included, should be done on a mutual agreement.
Mutually between all. Okay, that's very clear and very good. Thank you, dear viewers, for being with us in the last hour, discussing 2 important issues about 2 important visits paid by the the American Minister of State, Mark Pompeo, and the Prime Minister of Ethiopia, Abiy Ahmed, last week. We hope to see you next week in a different issue. So till that time, we say goodbye.